Hello, friends and enemies. This is Alfred Jetsam, the editor, coming to you from the future. So, funny story. Something happened in our recording. It's fine. It's not like last time where we lost the entire show, but you do get a little extra Star Wars treat to go with our Andor Season 2 discussion because it's going to sound at times a little bit like it's a transmission coming from across the universe. So, just be aware that there's going to be a few fuzzies here and there. You can still definitely hear everything, and it's totally worth sticking around for. It just adds a little flavor to the experience. So, listen up and enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a very sore episode 159 of Nerd Generations. As always, I am one of your illustrious hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the lovely Al Jetsam. Hello, sir.
Hello, friends and enemies. Some of us are sore physically, others of us are sore emotionally.
I'm sore both. I've been doing some art yard stuff, and I'm realizing that I'm getting old, and it's hurting so bad right now.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I wish I'd taken some Advil.
I get that. My hips are starting, they aren't at your level yet, but my hips are starting to get to that hey, maybe don't fall asleep on the couch again, because that's not great.
So my daughter had this strange illness the last 2 days, like a fever out of the blue. So she has slept in my spot in the bed, and I've slept on the couch for the last 2 days, and I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I love that couch to sit on. Sleeping on it is the effing worst.
Yeah.
So Litter Generations, episode 159. If it's your first time listening to us, please go back and listen to our back catalog. We got a lot of pure gold in our back catalog to listen to. Also, go to nerdpodgen.com. There are links to all the podcast sites, which is pretty much Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, there's links to YouTube, which we do put up some clips on occasion that you can go and listen to different parts of our shows. And also, you can read a little bit about what we have to do in our other lives with different projects and whatnot.
We both have art that we participate in and that we do. And,
which I did submit another play to a contest.
There you go.
A couple weeks ago. So this would be number 5.
Yeah, I was about to say, you've gotten a few of these in.
This would be number 5. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Is this one also about Chicago-specific alcohol?
No, this is about a make-believe small town, and you had to write something about living in a small town. But the next one, which is due in a couple months, is very interesting. It's a short one-act play, 8 pages. They give you the setup and the characters. And then you have to write the second part.
Oh, that's fun.
Isn't that fun?
I like that a lot.
It's really interesting. And
Yeah.
it's been tough. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, usually I love just making everything up. But having the basics, and I don't know who wrote the first part. They kind of suck, and I don't know if that's going to affect me getting in if they ever listen to this. But man, it's shit. But the premise at least makes sense, and I can do something with it. But I'm like, damn. But it's just interesting, so fingers crossed.
So does everybody have the same opener, or
Everyone has to start it with the same thing, which is one of, I think there's 6 characters, has to say the line, "Now this is what happened." And then you can go anywhere from there.
Gotcha.
But you have to play off of the starting premise with the characters and that starting line. So it's
All right.
it's gotten interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
It revolves around a play practice for the play Oklahoma, where they're kind of butchering it.
Oh, okay.
So I've been trying to decide if I want to bring in like Hugh Jackman, since his career was pretty much built on Oklahoma. So I'm working on stuff like that.
You're
but
playing with some things.
Playing with some fire.
Nice.
But anyways, folks, we do like to start with tangents, and we also like to start with what we've been watching, playing, reading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to roll out quick because I don't have a lot to talk about with this.
Oh, good, because I got lots.
Okay, good. I just want to talk about 2 things real quick. First off, I have been playing more Xenoblade Chronicles. I know I talk about this every week. Xenoblade Chronicles X, greatest thing ever. I love it. I'm 68 hours in right now, and yesterday I did 2 hours last night without even blinking.
Yeah.
And it was just me just screwing around doing whatever, and it's the greatest thing ever. I did want to bring up another video game, though. I have downloaded and started playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion
Oh, the remaster.
I must say, and this was when the Xbox 360 came out. I got one, I don't think it was right at launch. It was shortly after launch. And I got it, I'll never forget, the 2 games I got were Oblivion and Call of Duty 2. Which, for those of you, the original Call of Duty was like real kind of janky.
Yeah.
Call of Duty 2 was the first one where you're like, holy shit, this is a next-gen game.
They fixed the problem.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But Oblivion was incredible.
Yeah.
And, you start with Patrick Stewart's voice. He's the king in the beginning, and then you go into this beautiful world. Graphically, the remaster is jaw-dropping. The amount of work that went into this, jaw-dropping. Like, it's unbelievably beautiful. I don't know why they still have this, but it still has quite a bit of the good old Bethesda jank to it. God. And that's what is disappointing to me, because I love Bethesda games, except they're way too janky.
Yeah.
Like Fallout 3, one of my favorite games ever. Fallout 4, great game. Skyrim, great game. But they're just janky as hell. Like that old engine. I know Starfield fixed a lot of the problems in that one. It's just a boring game, but at least it runs a lot better. God damn, this game is janky as shit. And it's disappointing because when you fire it up, you're like, wow, this is a next gen. Like, this is what I expected when I got a next gen console. Fuck, it's janky. And it's so disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you look at games like Resident Evil 4 Remake and, well, actually 2, 3, and 4, all those remakes, they're amazing. And they got, for 2 and 3, they had the tank controls still. Those are long gone. And they're just these gorgeous remakes. But they still have the bones of the original game, where this is, they just really just prettied it up a lot, but left the completely fractured skeleton underneath it. And you're like, oh, why would you do that?
What an interesting tactic to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to work great.
Here's the positive.
Yeah.
Since I am an Xbox guy, it's on Game Pass, so I got it for free.
Oh, there you go.
So I didn't have to pay a dime.
Yeah.
But I know it is sold already. Like, I think it's sold over 1 million copies already. And so that you got to assume a lot of that is either PC or PlayStation. And I just feel bad for those players. So I'm like, fuck, man. It's only $50, which is great for a remake, because you're looking at all these prices for the remakes of the Switch 2 games, of the Switch 1s, where they're going to be like $80.
Yeah.
And so to get this gorgeous, and it's still, I mean, listen, janky or not, it's still an incredible game. I love how in these games you can just be going anywhere, and you go into a cave that quite literally no one else will ever probably go in. And in that cave, there's like books that the creators actually wrote, like legit full books and shit just lying around. It's fucking unbelievable. Like, I still, you look at games like Oblivion and Skyrim, and you're like, I don't get how a group of humans can make a game like this.
It's such a dedication of time.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. But it's just fucking so janky.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, is that I think that's the case for Bethesda games writ large.
Yeah.
Is that it's just not, they do not prioritize making sure the game works properly, fully. They are more interested in the selling of the thing than they are in the accolades afterwards.
And that's so disappointing, because it's, because I went, like, yesterday, I played a little bit of Oblivion, and then when I was getting ready to go to bed is when I played Xenoblade. Xenoblade is a Wii U game playing on a Switch hardware, which is barely relevant today, technology speaking. I mean, even when it came out, it wasn't that relevant. And it runs smoother with an actual bigger open world than Oblivion's. And I know Oblivion is a much older game, but on the hardware it's running, with the upgrades they did, you should have fixed the jank.
That's the thing, is like, I love the Koei Warriors games. So now you have Hyrule Warriors and those, and we're really excited for the new Hyrule Warriors that's coming out. But I got into it when it was Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things about those games was that if you had more than 30 people on the screen at one time, which you always did, because it was a massive fighting game where you're just fighting entire battalions of people all at once, the entire game would slow down to crap. If I played Dynasty Warriors 4 as a remaster and it had 4K graphics, but it's still slowed down, I'd be like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
How is this still a thing? That's unacceptable. It can't still be a problem. And unfortunately, I'm not a huge Bethesda head, in part because the games are a little too massive. It almost becomes like I don't know what to do. I'm going to, huddle in the corner fetal style and just wait until something happens and I know what to do. But it does seem like, from what I hear about Bethesda games, that this is a regular ongoing thing for the last 10 years. Yeah. That like the last at least 2 Fallout games and StarCraft and now Oblivion are just like, they're just not ready.
Yeah.
And they get pumped out when they're not done, or when, in the case of Oblivion, it might be done, but they could have still tweaked it. They could have still polished it.
Looking at their games, I don't necessarily think they're not done. It's their engine they have. Kind of like, do you remember the Telltale games, Walking Dead and all that?
Yeah.
People were like, after they had made a bunch, they're like, man, you got to update your engine, which they never did.
Yeah.
And that's why those games ended up crashing. But the Bethesda games, they have the same, like, because there's few games that when you're playing them, you're like, I know which company made this game. Mm-hmm. Like the interactions with the NPCs and just the way your characters move and the ragdoll effect when they die. It is a dead giveaway it's a Bethesda game. I think it's just their engine.
Yeah.
And to them, they're like, this is just the way we make them. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of nervous because they are currently, I'm 99% sure they're doing a full remake of Fallout 3.
Oh, wow.
And that game is spectacular. And I'm saying that from like the 360 one that was janky as shit back then. And now I'm like, okay, if you're going to remake it, are you going to remake it janky? Or are you, like you did with Oblivion, or are you going to remake it clean and running smooth?
Yeah, which is like if they refuse to update their engine.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about game design or anything like that, but to me, it feels like you're trying to put more hardware on a car with an engine that's too small. And at this point, I'm not one to say you need a Hemi, but maybe you need a Hemi.
Yeah.
And if that means taking apart the thing and putting in a new, whatever in the code to make it so it doesn't crash, I think you just got to do it.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know jack shit.
Well,
I talk out my ass all the time. This is the most I've talked out my ass in a while.
After playing these games, though, you gotta wonder, okay, what the fuck is Rockstar Games doing?
Yeah.
That they can put out like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Grand Theft Auto 5, which are insanely massive games, and they run smooth as shit.
Yeah, they never have a problem.
Never.
Never.
And it's
ever.
like, what are they doing?
Yeah. Well, I go back to Baldur's Gate 3 when I was playing through that, and you would just have these massive glitches that just threw, hurly-burly to the wall, and you were just like, okay, I can still play the game, but this isn't good.
Yeah.
This isn't what I would call good.
Yeah, they can't be noticeable.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
If the character's face fully falls off, if the game stops running at speed, or has such a slowdown that you think it's frozen, or the when you kill a character, they look like do you remember when they first had ragdolling in what was it, Starkiller, the Star Wars? I can't remember what it's called.
I know exactly.
Apprentice or whatever it is.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But they introduced this new ragdolling into that, and I feel like I've seen clips where
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed. Yes. Thank you. I feel like I've seen clips where the guys just go up and suddenly start spinning crazy, and it's like, if that's not supposed to happen,
no,
then you probably should look into why it is happening, so it doesn't happen anymore. But what do I know?
Makes you wonder. They made hand over fist. So
this is the thing, is that I go back to, was it Fallout 84 where they got in a butt ton of trouble because they had like these big pre-order sales that were supposed to come with a bunch of loot and stuff, and it ended up being false advertising.
Also they made it like an MMO.
Yeah.
And people didn't want that.
Well, and there was an in-game currency that sucked,
People didn't want
and it
that
wasn't bottle caps anymore. It was something else.
So, but the funny thing is they kind of did a what's that outer space one? No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky. They kind of did a No Man's Sky with that game, and now it's one of the highest played.
Really, they fixed it?
Yeah, because they fixed it and they made it more like a regular Fallout game, and people are like playing it like crazy.
See, this is what I have been saying for like at least the last 7 or 8 years. When a game comes out, don't buy it immediately.
No.
Take a year because they're going to fix a lot of problems in the game within that period of time.
The only ones to buy immediately are Nintendo guns because the price is never going to go down.
No.
And it will work out of the box.
And it's going to work fine.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be in a situation where it's like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom where you can use the glitches to your advantage.
Yeah.
To, fill out your inventory.
And it's going to work because they're going to say, we ain't going to fucking change a thing.
Yeah.
So enjoy the glitches.
Yeah.
So.
Here you go. Have fun, kids. We're not teching it anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the whole thing.
That's all I got. I just want to talk a couple video games.
Cool.
What are you rocking on?
Oh, boy. Okay, so strap in. So we're going to talk about Andor later.
Okay.
So we're going to get to Star Wars, which means I have to go to my other one monkey that I have and talk about superhero shit. So I finished Invincible Season 3.
Okay.
Have you watched all of Invincible?
I got halfway through, and I stopped out of principle because the commercials were unbearable.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I
could not watch an episode because it was, 2 minutes of commercials every 5-10 minutes, something like that?
It's a good season.
Yes.
I like what they explore. The entire season is just about that principle in superhero stories of when has a person done enough that you can kill them on sight and no one will judge you for it? When the world will be a better place when you take this person out of that scenario. And that's what the whole season is about. They just approach it from different angles, which is really interesting.
No, I enjoyed the first half.
The last 2 episodes I felt like got away from them.
Okay.
In terms of time. It felt like there were a lot of things happening, and it was so much that they literally couldn't show it all to us. And so you would have these cutaways where clearly a lot of things had happened, and you'd find out that characters died off screen and other things, and you're just like, okay, this feels like a lot.
Now, do they set it up for another season?
Yeah, I would say that there's at least one more. I think 2 more seasons, but at least one more season. I think it's good. The problem with Invincible is that it just makes you uncomfortable after a while because there's so much gore and so much darkness in this world, and villainy and evil is so paramount in this world, and and even the good guys are kind of bad guys. For yet another season, I'm watching Mark fight a Viltrumite and being like, just get out of town.
Yeah.
Like, at least make an effort to get out of town. He eventually does.
Yeah.
And then the Viltrumite pretty much says, oh, you don't want to be here? I'm going to make sure you don't go anywhere else. But I'm just sitting here like, we just talked about, without, going into anything, there is a massive worldwide destructive event in the second to last episode. And there's all this talk about, like, how do we rebuild? How do we come back from this? How does Mark come back from this? How does the world see superheroes moving forward? Major cities were wiped off the map as part of this event. And Mark is just talking about, like, man, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm going to clean up because it's the only thing that makes me feel useful. And then he gets in another superhero fight and immediately starts taking down buildings again. I'm like, dude. You can't do this.
Yeah.
You got to know not to do this by now. It is a really powerful season. There were elements of it that I found frustrating. Oliver as a character, the younger brother, I found really obnoxious after a while.
The only thing I think I enjoyed was that scene of him playing with regular kids with the skateboards. Yeah. That was cool.
That was good.
But he was great.
The problem is that it just kept on being the same thing.
Yes.
They tell Oliver to do something or not to do something. Oliver says, okay, and then immediately disobeys them. And it just got so annoying after a while of just like, no, I know. He's a 13-year-old and he won't listen. I know. I get it. Make your writing better. Earn that position better than just having Mark say, now don't do this. And then immediately Oliver does that. And you're just like, I need this to be better. I like by the end of the season, Oliver wants to go help Invincible with something. And Debbie, instead of trying to protect him, says, this is what you need to do. If you're going to go help your brother, this is how you need to approach that situation. That's great. I love that. I like the conflicts in the show. I like the characters in the show. I like that there's this argument of, like, the Shield in this show, Cecil and his whole business? How do they function? Are they actually good? Do they see themselves as good? Is this something else to them? And we get to explore some of that. We get to explore kind of the nascent superheroes that have just kind of been created along the way, like William's boyfriend and other things where it's just like, oh, he's going to have super strength because he has a robot skeleton now. So we're going to address that. I thought it was really good, but I did find elements of it deeply trying, just in terms of like, no, I get it. Can we move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
You know, when we keep going back to Omni-Man in prison, and Alan is like, you got it. I'm going to help you break out, and then we're going to team up, and, you can redeem yourself in the eyes of your son and make the planet better. And he's like, I don't want to. And it's that for like 3 episodes. And it's like, God damn it, guys, come on. Yeah. It can't just be this over and over and over again. You got to give me something else. So when you get to episode, I think it's 8 or 9, the second to last episode, and there's just chaos happening. And we're entering scenes in the middle of fights, and people are dead on the sidelines, and you're just like, okay, so we had time for this nonsense, but now when we need time, we don't have it.
Yeah, we don't have any time.
We got to figure out how we're budgeting things better. We're going to get to budgeting time later.
I know we will.
So overall, Invincible season 2, I think I think it's better than season 1, less than season 2.
Yes.
It's not a bad season, but it's kind of like when Mark gets a new black and blue costume. I'm like, this is a fine enough costume, but I don't really understand the need for it.
Yeah.
We get it later. It makes sense later. But in the moment where he gets the costume, even Mark is like, okay. Yeah. And that was kind of how I felt about this season. Okay. It's good. It's good enough. And if you like Invincible, it does all the things that you want to see out of Invincible. It did make me realize that is the thing that my superhero stories have that Invincible doesn't crowd on, is that mine doesn't have gore.
Yes.
So work on that, because man, if you don't like gore, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
And that's the thing, is I've noticed that it kind of the same with the problem I had with The Boys.
Yeah.
Once you get over the gore, the actual story doesn't really hold up enough.
Yeah, like we see Grog in Vox Machina go through some gory things.
Yes.
Right? He has a giant spike pushed through him at one point. Right? He has some gory things happen to him. But the writing and the storytelling around those events mean that it's not just the spectacle of it. Whereas Invincible and The Boys, it feels like it's an element of why you watch the show.
Yes.
Is like, but this is what would really happen if superheroes existed. And I'm like, I don't care about that, man.
Yeah.
That's not important to me. And to that degree, my buddy, after we finished watching Invincible, had me sit down and finally made me watch My Hero Academia. After years of protest on my part, saying, no, I don't want to.
Why are you protesting? I mean, I've never seen it. I know of it.
I was protesting for a variety of reasons. One, primarily jealousy.
Okay.
Because I had been working on the superhero world for so long, and it was just another instantly popular superhero thing.
Okay.
And so it was frustrating to be like, I have this thing that I think is really good, and it's yet another massive, wide appeal superhero thing that, from an outside perspective, seems like it's so surface level and shallow to the superhero genre. So there was a part of me that was jealous. There was a part of me that was jealous and thus insulted by it. And then once I got over that, it became about how I didn't want there to be too much parallel thinking. Where I was working on my thing, I didn't want to watch a bunch of superhero stuff and see something and then have to be like, well, now I can't do that.
That makes sense.
It also didn't help that one of the main characters in My Hero has the same power set as Doc Nitro from my universe, to the point where, like, I edited Doc's powers because originally his powers were connected to his sweat gland. So basically he sweated out some flammable material and would use that to be a superhero. And I thought, that's too gross. We're not going to do that. My Hero was like, nah, fuck that. We're going to do that.
See?
And so I saw that. I was like, God fucking damn it. So, like, again, jealousy, pettiness, also parallel thinking. And I am here to say I was fucking wrong. I was so fucking wrong. I was so top to bottom fucking wrong, because this show is so good.
Really?
I love this show
instantly.
What is it
streaming on?
It's on Netflix and Hulu.
Okay.
The first 2 seasons are on Netflix. The first 4 seasons are on Hulu.
Okay.
But there's skip button things where like you can't skip the intros and end credits on Hulu. You can only do that on Netflix. So it's one of those things where if that's going to bother you, you watch it on Netflix. Otherwise, you can watch it on Hulu. It's really fucking good because it does address so many elements of things that I have found and commented on in Invincible and other superhero things of like, but you're getting that wrong. You're running right past the point. One of the things that always really bugged me about Invincible was that he didn't have a costume or name idea when he got his powers. That's garbage. Your dad is a superhero. You've been waiting your entire life to be a superhero. You should have a million drawings and a ton of fucking names.
I agree.
You should have a color scheme. They do that in My Hero. They have that measure. It doesn't hurt that the main character in My Hero is essentially me. So he has an entire notebook where he takes notes on all the superheroes and what they can do. Okay. It brings up some interesting concepts that we haven't seen before. So it kind of takes that X-Men idea of people just suddenly start having superpowers. There's not really like in the X-Men, it is because of nuclear testing and other things from the 60s. But since then, it's kind of just been this evolutionary line of this is just a thing that happens. My Hero takes a similar angle, but skips over all the prejudice. Okay. It's like we're not gonna sit here and talk about it. It happened. But this show takes place like 80 years after superheroes started appearing. So again, another thing that my story had that My Hero also does that I'm a little sensitive about because I was really proud of that. Nobody else had been doing it, and now it's here. Parallel thinking, it'll get you every time as a writer. But I just really like the build of the show. I like the power sets that they come up with. For the most part, the costumes are pretty good. It's one of those things where there is definitely a sense of translation distance because some of the names and costumes fucking suck. There are characters whose names just are terrible. And their power sets are great. There's a character where she can instantly create anything as long as she knows the atomic build of it, basically. Like what it's made of, how it works, all these other things. So she can just make a sword or a shield or a truck or whatever. She can just make whatever as long as she knows how to do it. So she just has to study books. This is great. I fucking love this. Her name is Creati. That sucks. Okay? That fucking sucks. Now, that's not all of them. There's a guy who can make himself super hard. He wears red. His name is Red Riot. Great. We got it. That got it in one.
But now this is a Japanese manga, right?
Yes.
So like, is that proper translation?
That's what I've come to. Is that there's certain ones that I hear and I'm just like, I don't know if that's lost in translation or what.
It's gotta be.
But some of them are really bad. Some of them are good. Some of them are weird. There's one where there's a guy who has engines that come out of his skin. And so he and his brother both have the same power set. His brother's name is Ingenium. And so he takes the name Ingenium. And I'm like, that's fine. But if you switch that so it's Enginium, that's a better name.
Yeah.
Now, is that a mistranslation or is that something else? I don't know.
That's tough.
You're going to go with it and I can't stop you. I'm just saying if I had a note, it would be maybe not this. Earphone Jack is one of the characters because she has these little earphone plug, like 3.5 millimeter plugs that grow out of her ears.
Oh.
And so she can control sound as long as they're plugged into something. So she can increase the sound of her heartbeat by plugging them in.
That's interesting.
It's a great power. Her name is Earphone Jack. That sucks.
That does suck.
Okay? That just fucking sucks. There's no way for me to be like, oh, but that just sucks. You need to start all over. Okay? I have a character very similar named Amplify. That's a perfectly good name.
Yeah, Earphone Jack's a little too on the nose.
It's just not right.
It's like calling Superman Flying Guy.
Yeah, it's just not right. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, it's just elements of it. The main character's name is Deku. That doesn't mean anything to me, but it clearly means something to the Japanese because there's all these different, reactions that people have to it when he chooses this as his name. And I'm like, okay, I thought it was just the name that people called him and specifically his high school bully called him. And so he's trying to reclaim it. That's what I thought it was, but maybe it has some other context I don't know about. Gran Torino is a good name. That's a good enough name. He has super speed. I'll take it. All Might. I still don't like All Might as a name. I just don't like it. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's...
Is he just like really strong?
He has a few powers. That's part of the show is that he is one of the few people that has multiple powers.
Okay.
And So like but primarily it's super strength, speed, durability. Your standards.
Yeah.
So it's just like there are elements of it that I really like. There are elements of it that I'm like, I don't know. One of the big leads, like, okay, so here's a good example. There's a woman who can grow to massive sizes. Her name is Mount Lady. That's fine. Okay, I'll take it. And because
That's terrible.
And because this is Japan, there's so much horniness around this character.
Oh my god, she's got to have giant boobs
and butts and so many other things. God. There is another character about at her level named Best Genist, and he can control cotton, so he has genes that go all the way up to his eyes. And it's just like, okay.
You know what, though? As much as I think it's a translation thing, if you really think of the name of a lot of Pokemon, they're terrible. Yeah. So it's like, this is quite possibly just them.
I still don't know why they named the mother Pokemon Kangaskhan after Genghis Khan.
I don't know.
I don't get that one, man. I've never gotten it. It still makes no sense to me. I don't get it. That's an American name. That's not its name in Japan. That's just what the Americans decide to call it. Doesn't matter. Still doesn't make fucking sense.
It's stupid.
So it's not just like a thing. I don't know. I really love this show. I love the build and feel of the show. There are definitely moments where I'm like, well, but you'd be able to solve this problem immediately if you just did this.
Yeah.
They're fighting a slime monster. Nobody can figure out how to stop the slime monster because you can't punch slime, and nobody can melt him, and nobody can burn him away or anything. So what do? Nobody knows what to do. And so they're just going to wait around until somebody shows up that can stop this. And I'm like, grab a CO2 canister, throw it into the monster and explode it. He'll freeze, at least in one point, and you can use that as a focal point to attack. Or just find anybody that has freeze powers. One of the things that's really interesting about the show is that they tell us up top that 80% of people have some kind of superpower of one kind or another. Now, it's not necessarily something great or world-ending. I think it's Deku's mom can just slightly move things towards her telekinetically. But there's 80% of people have superpowers, so that's another element of the show of just like, if something's not working, you're supposed to just wait around until somebody who's better equipped to handle the problem shows up, which is so phenomenally different from superhero stories in my experience, where it's like, no, like we were talking about with Daredevil, you're the guy that can fix this. Mm-hmm. You don't have the luxury of waiting around for someone else who can take care of it to show up. But when you have an 80% of the populace who have some kind of superpowers, I guess you can just wait and see if somebody else can show up. So I really like it. I was fully wrong on this. I'm super impressed with it as a show. And it's something that made me genuinely happy.
Now, is this an older show or is it more modern?
So this is more modern. I would say that this started in the mid-20-teens.
Oh, okay.
So
it's not like
2013, 2014. No.
Gotcha.
It does have a lot of tropes. It's not perfect.
Okay.
So it does that thing that a lot of animes do that kind of make me annoyed, where they constantly are reiterating information over and over and over and over and over and over again. And you're like, no. I got it. I saw it happen. I didn't miss that episode. I got it. We don't need to spend 5 minutes going over what happened for the last 5 episodes. I know what happened. That time would be better spent doing other things. This starts to feel like filler after a while when we're just having these conversations about the same thing that we've already discussed ad nauseum for the past 5 episodes, because every episode does it. So the things that you're refreshing on were refreshed on last episode and the one before that. So there are definitely elements of it where it's just like there's a lot of fat that can get trimmed here. But that being said, I never feel like I'm missing out on things because of the fat.
That makes sense.
Like there never feels like what we were talking about with Invincible, where it kind of felt disjointed at times because there were elements that weren't shown on screen, and yet you also had these periods where there was just nothing going on. And it, just kind of this disjointed of like, how are we spending our time versus how we should be spending our time? And My Hero doesn't really have that problem because it doesn't feel like you're lacking anything. I guess the only thing that could be is that if you took out some of that filler, you would have more time for plot and world building and other stuff. But it doesn't feel like those elements aren't there enough. So it's not a detriment to have this filler. It's just more annoying than anything else. It's kind of like McDonald's burgers in the early 2000s when they were full of pink slime.
Oh, God, yes.
It's like, this isn't bad, but it's kind of annoying that it's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I liked it.
Well,
I
that's
like it
good.
a lot.
I love new shows.
Yeah. Oh, and I needed it, baby.
Oh, God. Is it time?
I don't know how we can keep the darkness
it
away
time?
any longer. I mean, I think we have to.
So, to preface... Okay, so what we're insinuating right now, folks, is we are going to be moving on to discuss the first 3 episodes of Andor,
And
which is
how.
the first drop. They're dropping it in 3-episode chunks.
Yes.
So the first drop is episode 1, 2, and 3. To preface this, though... And I've been watching a lot of commentary on this, and it's 100% fact. As an absolute slap in the face to Disney Star Wars, there was a re-release for the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Right? And it did insane numbers. It did over $48 million worldwide in its first weekend.
Well, those 10-year-olds...
re-release.
All those 10-year-olds now have jobs.
Yeah.
They're all 30 and have jobs.
And everyone is saying, partially is because people wanted Star Wars.
Well, okay.
And now here's the thing. I still hate the original, the prequels, because they're not well-made movies.
We're ignoring a very important quotient. I'm looking at this chalkboard. I'm looking at this equation. There is a very important quotient that is being fully ignored in that argument, and that's nostalgia. You can easily argue that this has nothing to do with modern Star Wars and is much more representation of what people see Star Wars as, which is that 20 years later, it's all rose-colored glasses and you go and see it.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily say anything about what modern Star Wars is, because I think in 20 years, 5-year-olds who are watching The Acolyte and other things will have those same rose color. This is why we are championing against it.
They better not.
But let's not forget that for over 10 years, Revenge of the Sith was considered the best of those films.
Yes, exactly. Well, Revenge of the Sith has to thank The Rise of Skywalker. Because you can't get much worse than that. And so you're like, well, okay.
I don't know. Last Jedi is also real bad.
Last Jedi's terrible. But Revenge of the Sith is just so bad.
They're both really bad.
They're just really bad.
They're both really bad.
Okay, so speaking of really bad, so Andor, the first 3 episodes.
Hang on, Steve. I have to stop you there.
2,
There's no way that Andor can be really bad.
Rant. You know you're going to have this rant coming. Okay, so to give everyone context who have not seen the show, because surprisingly not a lot of people have seen the first season of Andor, which, once again, we both really liked. You liked it a little less than I did, but we both agree that, like, especially the prison scene, spectacular. The acting, everything in that was spectacular.
And I've come around on it. I rewatched Andor season 1 in preparation for this. I did my homework, because not everybody does their homework, but I did mine. And I found that a lot of the elements that I was annoyed by worked a lot better on reviewing.
Yes.
So the Norman Bates of it all, no, that did not get any better. That didn't. Anything with Dedra Mira, just still bad. It's still bad. But the stuff on Ferrex, I really, really love.
Yes.
And the stuff with the break-in, while janky at times, the jank in it is centered around this one point where they keep saying that Cassian is a necessary extra in all of this. It turns out he's not, because nobody can fly the ship. So don't say that he's a necessary extra when he's essential to what's going on. Okay? Otherwise, I really don't have any other problems. That's it. That's no notes after that. I thought the entire rest of it was really great on review.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Yeah. And, okay, so there are 3 main storylines in these first 3 episodes. One is Andor stealing a prototype TIE fighter and then getting captured by a bunch of fucking idiots. The second storyline is Mon Mothma and her daughter's wedding.
Her child daughter's wedding.
In
not Korea.
The third one is Rebel Moon Part 3.
Yes.
Which 99% that's what it is. Because it's Mix. I'm going to get the names right. It's Bix, Brasso, and Will are on this. It really is Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone has seen Rebel Moon, you just don't see them harvesting the grain, but it's fucking Rebel Moon. It's the same fucking thing.
It's just big fields of grain.
Yeah.
And of the 3, that was my favorite storyline.
It was until it wasn't.
Well, we're going to get to episode 3 where they were like, oh, you like this? Yeah. Fuck you. Okay, so
the first episode.
Real quick, I want to say this before we get started.
Yes.
Have you noticed that Disney does this? Where when they have a turkey on their hands, they release it in as big of bunches as possible.
Yes.
And so when they said that they were going to release the first 3 episodes of Andor, that should have immediately raised red flags.
Yes.
Because this is like theater or like studios not allowing movie reviews of their films to be posted until the first day of airing.
Yes.
The embargo goes all the way up until it starts showing in theaters. That's bad. That means you have a turkey on your hands. Disney's tell when they have a turkey is to release a bunch of episodes.
Yep.
So the first 3 episodes of Andor drop, and oh my turkey.
So let's talk about the first episode. So first episode,
we have a blissful moment of greatness at the beginning of the first episode.
And that's Andor stealing the TIE
I
fighter.
love everything about
was
this.
great.
When he shows up and he's talking to the facilitator.
Yes.
And they're having this back and forth. And
spectacular.
That was so great, man. That was what we come to Star Wars for.
Because it showed him, because this is 5 years later, I think?
1 year
Or 1 year later. But this shows his growth as a leader.
As a leader.
By the way he's talking to
He
her.
is now recruiting
Oh,
others. Yeah. And I also love that he gets in this prototype TIE fighter. He's like, I don't fucking know how to fly this.
It's so
and
great.
chaos ensues. I thought that was great.
It was so good.
And when he drops the guns and then the missile launcher, I was like, okay, be super careful about any other buttons on that panel you push. And he goes over to the other panel like, good.
Yes.
Other panel.
No, that part, yeah, you're right. The first part, the rest of the episode is the most
It's
boring
a trash
thing.
pile after that.
So fucking boring.
It's a trash pile after that. So what happens is you have this amazing moment where you meet this person in the Empire who's trying to rebel.
Yes.
And she's helping Andor out, and it's a great human moment in this story. And it sets up Andor as a character, and that's wonderful. And then he steals this TIE fighter, and he flies off. And you're like, cool, great, whatever. We flash to Mon Mothma's wedding.
Oh, my God.
And there's just a long shot of her walking towards Stellan Skarsgård,
God.
horrified that he's there. And I'm like, I don't...
That stupid wig.
And I don't mind Genevieve O'Reilly. She was fine in season 1, but...
And I don't mind her with this. Like, I honestly believe every problem with her in these first 3 episodes is the writing.
Yeah.
Because her acting, she still acts with what she has well.
She's still doing what she was doing last
Exactly.
year. It's just that now the quality of what she's been given
Oh my
is
God.
so
It's
in the
so
toilet.
mind-numbing.
And it takes so long. Everything on the Mothma estate takes so fucking long. It all takes for fucking ever. And then Vel shows up. And she has fully morphed into the poor rich girl, where she is just so upset that her girlfriend, who made it extremely clear that they were not more important as a couple than the rebellion, and she made this incredibly clear over and over again, well, now she's off fighting the rebellion, and Vel's angry that she's not around.
Quick little snippet on this. The girlfriend who we see in episode 3...
Yeah.
is the Doctor's new companion.
No kidding.
That, because as soon as I saw her, I was like, holy shit! Like, it clicked in my brain. I'm like, that's fucking her! It is. She is the Doctor's new companion.
Well, there's something at
Yeah.
least.
So I was like, yeah.
And she's good. She's always good.
She was good in the 2 minutes she
It's,
was in
well, so this is
episode
what I was
3.
about to say, is that she, in season 1, is really good.
Yo, she's great.
But Vel is the focus, and Vel is just obnoxious.
Oh, my God.
Because Vel is Sofia Coppola, poor little rich kid. Of just like this rich girl who's never had to want for anything, who is standing on the front lines in this rebellion, but doesn't understand what any of it means.
Yes.
And have you heard us, white girls from the suburbs? Because we're talking about you in this show now.
Yeah.
Don't you see yourself as Vel in this show as somebody who just doesn't know what to do? And I'm just like, why are you belittling your audience, first off? Second off, why are we wasting time with this? Nobody wants Vel to be this character.
The entire wedding is a waste of time.
We're going to get to the waste of time at the entire
But, like,
wedding.
starting with this preparation in this first episode. Like, I understand this is how they're trying to weave in the political drama part of it.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I wanted to bang my head against the wall.
Yeah.
I almost fell asleep.
I was so frustrated by it because I just kept on being like, and this is going where? This is important and relevant to the story. How? And this is going to come up again later. When? Never. Nothing. Nothing that is talked about here with the exception of Tay, her major domo's fallout, where he basically starts blackmailing her and is like...
Because his life's falling apart, he blames her for everything.
Well, his life is falling apart, but everybody else who he's been working with, their lives are getting better.
Yes.
And so he's like, you haven't paid me for this work. You haven't really done anything to make sure I'm taken care of, so maybe do that. And this is a major problem for Mon Mothma. She freaks the fuck out. And she runs to Stellan Skarsgård, who freaks the fuck out. And I'm like, pay the man. Yeah. I don't know what the problem is. Pay him off.
But, like, when you say they freak the fuck out, that means they just walk quickly towards one another and then whisper.
And have a very tense, terse conversation.
Tense whisper. And then they walk away feverish. And it's like, dude, I don't give a shit about your daughter. I don't give a shit about your husband. I don't give a shit about the whole fucking thing. The whole thing that made this work in the first season is it took place on Coruscant.
And
where
it was
the Empire was.
And it was in the background.
Yes!
It was never the foreground. The only way it ever came to the foreground was, wow, Mon Mothma's family sucks.
Yes, they suck, but it's like you always had that concern because there was always Imperial officers everywhere. And here it's like, okay, you're just surrounded by rich douchebags.
And we have to talk about how it's rich white douchebags in what appear to be pretty specifically Korean garb. It's a weird choice. It's a really weird, uncomfortable choice. It was one thing when you had them wearing kimonos.
Yes.
That was like, okay, and I get it. Star Wars has always had this thing. Obi-Wan is literally scaly armor in Chinese. This is not something new. This has been going on for a long time. This feels like an overstep at this point. This feels weird. When episode 2 they come out and they're wearing the weird headbands.
Oh,
I'm like,
my God.
This feels uncomfortable to me. I don't care for this. This seems wrong. This seems like the wrong direction to go in. I get wanting to develop the world of Star Wars more. I don't think Chandrila was one of the worlds that we needed to develop more.
Not even a little bit.
We don't need to know about Chandrilan culture. We already know enough from season 1. We don't need to be introduced to all the ins and outs of Chandrilan culture. But here we go. And if you're bored by that, have I got a Holiday Inn Express suite for you?
Yes.
Because we are going to join the Empire as Admiral Krennic goes over the plans to take over this planet. And here is a tourism board video, a full minute and a half tourism board video for the entire Imperial room to uncomfortably watch.
I was shocked at how long that was. That was like...
It just kept going.
That was like when you watch a Family Guy and they do one of their cutaways, and the cutaway just goes a little longer than it should.
Yeah.
That's what... like, I'm watching it, I'm like, this gotta end. Like, something's got nothing.
This was just a conference. This was just an Imperial conference call. It begins with Krennic saying, nobody puts my meetings on the calendar. And I'm like, I've been told that in my office job. Why would I want to hear that here?
Yes.
Explain that to me. Why I would want this to be part of Star Wars. But we get to sit down and find out how important Gorman is and how all of their clothes are made by spiders. And none of this fucking matters because what the Empire wants is not the Gormans, nor their spiders, nor their clothes. It's the rocks underneath their feet. So why are we taking all of this time to talk about this when it has nothing to do with anything? So I guess the premise is to set up that the Gormans aren't just going to roll over and allow the Empire to take over their planet. I'm not really super concerned about that right now. Why would I care about that? It's the Empire. They're going to do what they want to do.
They, even though they don't have a Death Star yet, they have Star Destroyers that could fuck the planet up pretty goddamn bad.
Yeah, and they just need what's at the core of the planet. They already plan on mining the planet to death.
Yes.
So why do I care?
Dude, I'll be honest. I have been trying to put that video out of my head. And you just brought back, it was almost like
shocked.
PTSD that I'm getting that again.
When that happened, I literally turned to Kelly and I was like, what does this have to do with anything?
I don't get.
But then, guess what? Phase 2 starts, propaganda machine. Here's the Imperial propaganda machine talking about how the Gormans suck. And they've always been snooty assholes. Yeah. And don't we all agree that the Gormans suck? And I'm like, who are you selling this to?
Yeah.
Why would, first off, you're the fucking Empire. You don't need to sell this to anybody. Second, Disney, is this just propaganda 101? Where it's like, if you've never heard of it, here's what propaganda is. Yeah. What is this? Why is this a thing? And why does it take so long? It takes actual minutes of the episode to get through each of these scenes.
And that was the takeaway I had from this entire episode. Between Andor getting kidnapped by those just...
We haven't even gotten to the
absolute
idiots.
Morons. The whole... Rebel Moon planet, the Imperial, the meeting, and the stupid wedding. Every one of those scenes went on way too long. But it's like the entire episode was that. It's like, well, when are we going to have space action in our space action fucking show?
It started to feel like they were trying to say, look at us. We're an independent film. We don't need to have action in every sequence. We can have just the minutia of the world of Star Wars and how it works. And Mon Mothma, this is how things work on her planet. And, oh, the rebels, this is what happens when the rebels can't agree on something. And, oh, the Empire, this is what the Empire does on their Saturday mornings. And I'm like, I don't fucking care, dude. I don't fucking care. And if this was better written, I would be into it. But it's so shittily written that I can't. I fucking can't with this.
And I'll be honest with you. I was giving this first episode the benefit of the doubt as just building the story.
I did too.
Until I watched the second and third one.
We can't get into that.
No, we're not going to get to them yet. But I'm saying that was my takeaway from this episode where I was like, it was shit.
Yeah.
But is it shit for a purpose? Nope. It's just shit.
I came away from episode 1 being like, okay, it can get better though, right? Like that was just where we started. This is why you posted 3, because this was where we started and you knew it was going to be a slow start. So you gave us 3 so we could really ramp into it. Okay. Episode 2. The only other thing I want to mention before we get to episode 2 is I want to describe the stupid planet that Andor crashes onto.
Oh my God.
So he crashes onto this planet.
Which, I'm trying to remember, is the first interaction between Bix and the officer in episode 1 or episode 2?
2.
Okay, yeah, so we'll skip that.
So episode 1 is literally just we find them on a farm planet and Bix has a nightmare where an Imperial officer is attacking her.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all we see from Farm District, which is why it was my favorite part of the episode.
Exactly.
But when Andor gets to this planet where he's supposed to trade this Imperial starcraft off to this guy Porco, not Porkins, Porco. He is encountered by a group of fucking morons who it turns out
unbelievable morons.
Are part of the rebellion, but they've lost their leader. And so they are fucking helpless to the point where one guy who is supposedly in charge says, we have you surrounded with 15 guns. And another guy, before he says guns, says, what are you doing telling him our numbers? And that's all of it. It is people talking and screaming at each other the entire time. There is nothing else that goes on when you're on this planet. It is just people shouting at each other and arguing. And oh my God, it gets sold so fast. And so fast.
It still lasts another 1.5 episodes before it's resolved.
It's shocking how long this goes on for.
It made no sense.
It just keeps going. And I'm sitting here being like, is this supposed to be an allegory for what happens when a rebellion doesn't have a strong leadership? Or is this supposed to be an allegory for what happens if a side can't come together cohesively? What is this an allegory for? I don't fucking know.
Dude,
I think it was just a waste of my fucking time.
It's so
because
bad.
It literally is just people arguing.
And then they fracture.
And then they fracture into 2 groups. And then they start having these gunfights in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And there's no food. And there's supposedly monsters out in the woods. And I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck does this have to do with literally anything?
Yeah.
Why are we still here? What does Andor need to learn from this experience that is so important that we are going to spend 20 minutes over the course of 2 episodes on this godforsaken fucking planet?
Yeah.
What in the world could be so important? Nothing. Because I can tell you this straight up right now, listener, skip episode 2. Full skip episode 2. Nothing important happens in episode 2.
You could take important out and just nothing happens. Not even important.
No.
Literally no. Okay.
Literally nothing happens.
One thing, we get the foreshadowing of what I had said, where Bix gets...
There's a very creepy Imperial officer that is clearly trying to hit on her.
Yes.
And he is clearly going to take what he wants regardless of what she says. And so that is set up in episode 2.
Yes.
And also that Brasso and his team are trying to figure out what they're going to do and where they're going to go during these inspections that are going around on the planet by the Empire. And where is Cassian? I don't fucking know. He's on some stupid dipshit planet arguing with idiots who can't eat melons like normal humans and are just fucking dumb. They need to be told to collect rain when they don't have any water. They're fucking dumb and they just argue all the time. It's just a cacophony of noise all the time when you're with them. And so when Andor finally escapes from them, I was like, thank fucking God. Kill them all on your way out. Or just leave them here. I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as we never see them again. Because this was pointless. This was insultingly pointless. This was the moment where I was like, oh, so we're fucking here now.
Yeah.
This is where we're fucking are. Okay, well then let's fucking go. Because this is what's going to fucking happen.
It also reintroduced your favorite character in this episode, Norman Bates.
Oh
Cyril.
my God, Norman Bates.
Cyril
we're
and
gonna
Deidre,
get to
who are
Norman
now
Bates.
in a relationship.
A couple. They live together.
Yeah. But you get his character reintroduced, and you're like, and it's in this weird.
He has his boss's role from last season.
Yeah, and the way he's talking to this new recruit is just weird.
And when he gets home to his girlfriend, it's weird.
It's so strange.
And they talk about we can't put this off anymore, and I immediately knew.
Oh,
I
yeah.
immediately knew where we were going with this, and I was like, well, the skip button's going to come in real handy in a little bit, and it did.
Yeah.
So if you're bored by either of those options, then might I bring you to a wedding where we're going to hike up a massive hill, and we're going to have Vel and Mon have a whispered conversation about nothing. And we're going to have Stellan Skarsgård and Mon have a whispered conversation about nothing. And where Perrin, Mon's husband, who we hate, gives a 3-minute speech. Honestly,
yeah, so 2 sucks so bad. Forget 2. 2's a bullshit.
There's literally nothing that happens in 2.
So we're on to 3.
Nothing happens in 2. The only thing of import is we find out that the Imperials are going to start doing things on this planet.
Yes.
And Andor gets off the stupid planet with the idiots.
That's not until 3.
That still doesn't happen in 2.
That doesn't
It
happen
literally
until
all
3.
bled together because I was so frustrated at that point. I was just like, this fucking sucks.
Or it might have happened at the end of 2.
I think it happened at the end of 2.
Yeah, it might happen at the end of 2, but it's so mind-numbing.
This is what I'm saying, is that it's hard to keep it all, separate because it's so fucking dumb. The entire thing is outrageously stupid.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. Episode 3. I understand the Empire's terrible.
Yes.
The Empire's horrible. The Empire are the worst thing. You don't have to have rape in Star Wars.
I didn't care. That was fine. I don't care about that.
But it's like,
I've heard this going around online. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Well, it just, to me, like, the thing about Star Wars, and the thing that always differentiated Star Wars and Star Trek to me, Star Trek touched on more, like, real things that are going on in normal human society. Star Wars is a fun fantasy to get you away from anything that we mostly deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I don't know, like, it just seemed so not Star Wars. I think that was the thing to me. It's like, if he, like, physically beat her up, or it's like, but when you're throwing in illegal immigration and rape,
yeah,
in the same conversation, and like you're saying, it's like you're touching on, like, what are you doing? What are you setting up with this?
Yeah,
like Star Wars to me is it's devoid of all of the shit that we do deal with in the real world.
Yeah.
And it's the fantasy world where we don't have to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's not, and I'm not saying that stormtroopers probably did that kind of shit and whatnot, but
we've never explored it before.
you never explored it, and you never really explored any real life kind of thing.
When Leia shows up at Jabba's palace, and then we cut back to her in a bathing suit, we didn't explore what happened in between her. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, did the slug do thing? Oh, maybe, but it's like you don't need it, and that's my only thing is it was unnecessary. Like I think it was written in for shock value.
I got that feeling too, but I also understand. I don't understand. It doesn't shock me that they put it in here. Let me put it that way.
Well, no, it does. It doesn't shock me in this shit that it's in there. And with what we've seen with like the Alkali and how they're moving, but once again, to me, it's not Star Wars.
Yeah,
it just doesn't fit in Star Wars.
Yeah, we don't have conversations about that in Star Wars, and
because like that's the one thing other than Han and Leia kissing. Mm-hmm. There's no sex in Star Wars.
I don't know about that.
Okay, Adam Driver took his shirt off and fucking.
I think that's an overstatement.
No,
but
if you think about it. Okay, Leia in the bikini, but then, like it's that's why.
But
that's
then
the only
also
thing
Finn wants to get with Rey the entire time he's with her.
Okay, but we're talking about new Star Wars.
That is new Star Wars.
No. But no. What I'm talking about is like the original, and I'm even going to put the original trilogy. The 6 movies. There was love in them, but there's never really like a discussion of sex or like physical.
No, there wasn't like Han and Leia sneaking off to have sex.
And that to me is like, okay, you could have, Lando making a little remark or something, but that's
the other thing is that Lando is seen as a sex symbol.
Yeah, but
within the movies.
He's seen as a sex symbol, but it's not like there's never a emphasis on sex, because that's the thing I think is overdone too much in modern everything. It's like everything has to be about sex. Everything has to be about, anything has. It's like just leave sex out of it.
See, it doesn't bother me because to me it's just part of the storytelling element. I think it is for shock value. That's the part that bothers me. Is that it doesn't necessarily...
There's no storytelling.
It doesn't add anything to the story. I'm not going to sit here and be like, this ruined Star Wars for me. It
didn't ruin Star Wars.
But I don't even put it...
This whole series ruined Star Wars.
Yeah, but I'm not even going to give it as a demerit. I think it's fine. I think getting upset over it is a little overblown simply because like it is in so much literature and it's in so many elements of life. And it's a real concern for half the population. So it is something that they are going to immediately...
But I guess this is my thing.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was put in there for those noble causes.
Okay.
I believe it was put in there
simply for the shock value.
Simply for shock value.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look how dark this... It's like, dude, the beginning of Rogue One, your hero shoots a dude.
Yeah.
In cold blood. That's dark.
Yeah.
Like here, it's like you only put it in there for people to be like, oh my God, can you believe what Star Wars did? Not because you wanted to shine a light on. And like, I'll be honest, there's a woman I work with and I give her full kudos on this. She refuses to watch anything that has a rape scene in it. Because she goes, I think it's unnecessary. I think it's like, it happens, but it's one of those things kind of like the Holocaust. I can't watch Holocaust movies. Like, I watched Schindler's List once. I can't watch it again.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know what happens, but it's such an awful thing. It's like, you're not going to have a movie where you see a child being molested. Because it's literally the worst thing you could do. Rape is up there for me. It's like, rape is one of the worst fucking things you can do to a human being. I don't need to see
it doesn't need to be here.
It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Like, and then... that word is probably... I think this is the first time that word's ever been spoken in all of Star Wars lore.
It is. I don't think that word
50
has
years.
been in any Star Wars movie
before. But like movie, books, nothing.
I can't say anything about the books. I don't know enough about the extended universe to be able to say anything like that.
I would bet money that this is the first time that word was uttered.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, to me, I think it was exploitative.
Yes.
And not for any positive way.
Yeah. See, like that's...
Which makes it even worse.
That's where I'm coming from. Is like, if this was done to incite a feeling in female audiences, or to bring an idea to male audiences that they're not comfortable with, which is another thing that we try and do nowadays. That's one thing. But if it's just for the shock value of having this woman, Bix has already gone through enough.
Yes.
Like, she's already been tortured. We don't need her to hate the Empire anymore. She already hates the Empire enough. The only really good thing about the scene was that she killed the guy. Like, that was the only good thing that came out of that scene.
No, I'll be honest. When you take the sexual violence out of it, the fight scene actually was pretty badass because she did beat the shit out of him. So that was fucking
I think if you cut out that one sequence where he gets really close to her.
It's like touching her hand.
You could even keep in the stuff about, like, where's your husband?
Yeah.
Because that insinuates some stuff. But we don't need him, like, basically saying, like, we can either do this the easy way or the hard way. We didn't need that. And so if you took that out, and it's just him pressing
her. And, like,
her.
when he pressed her against the table, it's like, dude. Like, I've seen that in too many movies. It's like, I don't need to see that shit.
Yeah, it's just, it does take away from everything else going on.
And it's unnecessary.
It becomes a distraction. And it doesn't build Bix's character at all. At the end of the day, it doesn't do anything to make Bix's character different or better.
It doesn't amplify the drama of the situation. The drama of the situation is the Empire is coming, and if they find them, they know they're undocumented, and they will arrest them.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you need to worry about, not like the whole sexual thing.
Yeah.
Completely, I think it was...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again, I can get what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I just don't believe it was done in the same intentions you were thinking.
I don't have any reason to believe Disney did do it with those intentions.
Yeah.
Because Disney has kind of put themselves in this corner.
Yeah.
By having Perrin have a 3-minute long speech about nothing. About absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And by having these idiots on this planet who are just fighting. They're not even fighting in like a Sorkian or like a MASH style.
And when they try to drag the
they're
TIE Fighter,
pulling the TIE Fighter.
I was like, what the fuck
What
am
is
I watching?
actually happening? Can we talk about what's actually happening? Because now an entire group of people have decided the best course of action is to murder their friends by pushing a TIE Fighter. Like, we're talking about centimeters to get it in range, is what they're telling us. And it's going to take them hours to do it.
Because that's, like, in all reality, there's, I think, 8 or 9 of them.
At most.
At most. A TIE Fighter weighs as much as probably a school bus.
Yeah.
So 8 or 9 of them with a lifetime could not move that thing fucking centimeters.
No.
And they're like, oh, we can do it. It's like, are you fucking... I can't...
Well, and nobody can go in there and push the buttons that Andor pushed to get it to hover in the first place.
It to work.
Like, that whole storyline fucking sucked.
That storyline fucking sucked.
It was
and
bad.
Like, even that CGI creature coming in and eating half of them at the end, I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
I don't care. Kill them all.
I want to eat them all. Yeah, fucking
kill them all. They either need to die here from just being left here, or they need to die here because they're flat out murdered on screen. Either way, they gotta go.
Yeah.
That is the only way that this will resolve in a way that I will find satisfactory, is if you kill them all.
Okay, so I think we need to talk about the wedding.
Yeah, we need to talk about the wedding, because if the last 2 episodes of prep for the wedding weren't enough, we now have the wedding proper, which is just more opportunities for Mon Mothma's family to cuss her out, essentially. She has this heartfelt moment with her daughter right before they go out, where she basically tells her daughter, like, my mom was drunk and wasn't supportive. I'm here to tell you that you don't need to do this. And her daughter's like, I wish you were drunk.
Her daughter...
I hate this.
And
Who could like this?
I'm going to use the clean way of saying this. See you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, they wrote this girl as the worst fucking human being.
But we're going to see her first dance. Yeah. Oh, baby, we're going to see her first dance. And I'm starting to fast forward through the first dance. And I see Vel, and I'm like, maybe there will be, like, some side conversations about stuff that's important to what's... No! It's just their first dance.
Yeah.
And it's, like, 1.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's... No! No. You have to have literally anything happening. You cannot just have these 2 14-year-olds dancing in Korean garb. That can't be the scene.
And doing a weird, like, old English dance.
Oh, it sucks so bad, man.
Oh, it was terrible.
I was so angry. I was so mad. So the narrative for this house with these 2 episodes was episode 2, fully skip it. Nothing happened.
Yeah, it's just fucking
fully
dog
skip
shit.
the entire thing. Nothing happened. Episode 3, the narrative is, thank God for the skip button. Because I fully skipped the first dance and every scene where that stupid party robot came in and started getting people dancing. And then Mon Mothma is drunk dancing at her daughter's wedding.
I watched all of it.
And I was just like, what the fuck is this? And meanwhile, we're cutting back and forth. This is when the Bix rape stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Is while all this is going on. And I'm just like, what the actual fuck am I supposed to do with this? And I skipped every scene of Norman Bates and his mother.
We'll get to
I
that.
did not watch.
You'll
have to tell me what happened because I fucking skipped it.
So,
I saw her come out of the elevator. I said, fuck no!
And I'll be honest with you. There's this one scene in that is the only scene I liked prior to the end with Andor blowing away all the troopers. The vibe I got from the dance scene at the wedding, from the one going into the other, is Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
Because they go from doing that fancy dance,
the traditional
to the
dance to the
rock band thing. And that's like that techno.
It was the exact same thing.
And they're doing like a techno dance, and you're right, she's getting wasted because the mother of the groom gets a shot with her, and then she just starts doing shots. Well,
she's worried about Vel, and she's worried about Stellan Skarsgård.
Well, she knows that Skarsgård is going to kill Vel.
Well, no, she knows that Stellan Skarsgård is going to kill Tay.
Or Tay, that's it.
Because Tay comes over and says, I'm basically going to go work for the Mafia.
Yes.
And she says, well, don't do that. And he's like, well, you should have paid me.
Yep.
And so she says to Stellan Skarsgård, what do you want to do? And he's like, there is only one thing to do.
And she knows.
And she says, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, well, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you can make that decision because I can't. So he's going to go kill Tay. And that's it. She's just drunk because she's over her head and her entire family hates her. Because her entire family is full of douchebags.
Yeah.
And I was just left being like, Is this just a Mon Mothma pity party?
I can't.
Like, what is the purpose of this? Because it doesn't make her character any better.
No.
It doesn't increase our understanding of her or any of the other situations. It only asserts what we already know.
Yeah.
Which is that her family fucking sucks.
Yes.
And she's in over her head. We already know this.
And like the first season, it's obvious they were trying to make this character look as strong as possible, and they took all that away. In these 3 episodes.
They stole it all from her.
She's drunk dancing, and then her husband looks at her. I couldn't quite gauge, like, is him looking at her like, oh, maybe she, like, showing some sign of love or hate? I could not make it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the whole dancing was the worst.
It was just
a
massive waste of time.
It was so bad.
What didn't we get because we were stuck dancing at Mon Mothma's wedding? The death of Brasso, who was a major character in season 1 and dies off screen in episode 3.
Yes.
He's on a speeder. He's being chased by stormtroopers. Andor shows up, guns down the stormtroopers, goes to find Brasso, and he's dead.
Yeah.
And that's what we see. We don't get to see anything else from Brasso?
And
are you fucking kidding me? Brasso was such an important character!
Oh, he was massive. And this was their chance to pull a, let's call it the Godfather baptism scene.
Yeah.
Where she's dancing drunk and, like, quietly
business
with the
is
music,
getting done.
Business is getting, like, we see the assassination. We see Brasso die. We see all this shit. While the music's playing and she's dancing, that would have had a little bit more of an impact. But
instead, the music feels so disjointed to
so
what's going on.
up.
It feels so wrong and so off because you have these characters crying in the ship as Brasso dies.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Mon Mothma's partying to fucking Skrillex and having shots. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. Guys, you have to understand that this fucking sucks, right?
Oh my God.
Like, how in the world can you look at this and say, yes, this was a satisfactory job? Put it out there.
Yes.
It's good enough. It's done. When I came into the season, my expectations were like, maybe we're going to see how he meets K2. I hope that happens early on because I really like K2. Alan Tudyk, all you got to do is pay for his voice acting work. That's it.
Yeah.
That's pennies on the dollar for Disney. He must have a revolving customer card for them, a regular customer card for them. Like, why are we doing this? This has nothing to do with anything. We are literally in the exact same place as we were at the end of last season.
Yes.
It's just that one character is dead.
A vitally important character.
Nothing else has changed. I am now trying to figure out how we're going to write it out so that we come back for B2 Emo because we left him on the planet.
Well, they go, as you started 4, I started a little bit of episode 4, and you see it's going to take place a year later. So it's doing a year jump. So it's going to take all of the issues with the writing in these first 3 episodes and say, well, it's a year later, so we don't have to fucking worry about it.
That's a waste of my fucking time.
It's such a waste.
You wasted so much time and money and energy. How much money and energy did you spend on this to have this be the final product?
I think it was $180 million.
Are you out of your fucking mind? Who is okaying this at Disney?
I don't get it.
Is this a Kathleen Kennedy thing, or does this go further up the ladder? Someone has to be responsible for looking at these scripts and saying, yes, this is good, or no, we need to try this again. This cannot be. When you get the dailies back for this cannot be something where you are confident and comfortable with where you stand. You should have an entire rewrite of the first 3 episodes. You should scrap them from the top down. You can keep some stuff, but again, it's extremely limited what you can actually keep. And it's 3 40-minute episodes.
More than that. I think they were close to an hour.
Well, I'm not counting the credits because Disney wants you to count the credits, which is another 13 minutes after the show ends.
That's true.
It's outrageous. Like, they wasted so much time. I was so angry. If we didn't have this show that we're doing right now, I wouldn't keep watching Andor.
Yeah.
That would have been it. That would have been signed, sealed, delivered for the season.
This is kind of our new Obi-Wan.
I was shocked. I was shook to my core. I was so excited for this show.
Yeah,
I just rewatched Andor. I was so ready.
Yep.
And to have this, after all this time, and all this prereq, and all this hoopla, and all this everything, and this is what you came out with. What did you think we were going to react to?
It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so I will give you the quick rundown on the
Yes.
dinner.
What happened at the dinner that I
So,
definitely skipped?
Cyril and Deidre have Cyril's mom come over.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Does she have complaints?
She comes over, full bitch mode.
Oh, shocking.
Talking down to Cyril.
Wow.
This is the one thing that I enjoyed about this episode, once again, other than Andor wasting all the stormtroopers. At one point, she says something to Cyril, and he's like, I gotta go, I'll be right back. And he goes into the other room, and Deidre looks at her and pretty much says, she doesn't say this in so many words, listen, this little bitch is mine now. Mm-hmm. I own him, and you don't have a fucking thing to do about it because I'm the alpha in this situation. So I will allow you visitations, and I will allow him a couple phone calls to you, but you do not fucking talk down to him or treat me like shit. And then he comes back, and the mother's like, that was a badass. And it was like 2 minutes, but it was like, that's the Deidre that I want to see, that we didn't, like, she seems so, like, not herself in these first 2 episodes with, you know, not knowing what to do with the job offer she's gotten and all this.
Well, like apparently in the year where nothing has happened, she hasn't gotten any closer to access.
Yeah, no.
Oh, how? You made so much progress, and then in a year you didn't make any progress?
But that one scene, I was like, that was pretty, like, she was like, you're fucking not going to say
but it's
goddamn
fully
word.
undercut by the fact that I hate all 3 of these characters, and I wish none of them were in the show, and every time any of them show up, I groan audibly.
Well, and you would have groaned because while this conversation was going on, they kind of zoomed back from the dining area, and he's just laying on their bed with his head on the side. And then he gets up and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, I don't know what.
What the fuck is happening?
I don't know. Like, I don't know where they're going to go.
Do you think this is some kind of premiere indie television event? No, this is fucking Star Wars.
Yeah.
What do you think you're doing?
I don't
This
get
is
it.
as bad as the Acolyte being like, fuck your canon.
Yes.
50 years of canon. Fuck it all. We're not going to use any of that.
And it seems like that's what they're saying about the first season.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, fuck it.
Fuck it. None of that matters. None of it matters. Did you like Kino Loy? You're never going to see him again.
Nope.
Do you want to see how he meets K2? Strap in, because it's going to take a time to get there. I wouldn't be surprised if he just meets K2 like a day before the end of the episode, or the end of the series, where it's just like, and now go watch Rogue One, and it turns out that he's only known K2 for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have so many opportunities to do so many things and to fix so many mistakes. No one in the world told you to bring Cyril back. No one told you to do that. No one told you to bring his mother back.
Yes.
No one sat here and talked about Andor and said, you know what part I really like? Cyril. Cyril's my favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
No one said that.
No.
Absolutely no one said that. So you fully could have written him out of the show, and then when people watch season 1, they're like, oh, that's right, Cyril. I fully forgot about him because I fucking should have.
Yeah.
Because he shouldn't have appeared in any episodes past him being fired.
Well, and I can't remember what's the episode count on this season.
I want to say it's a 9-episode season.
So, yeah, they'll probably break it down into 3 drops. So you have 9 episodes to get from Andor Season 1 to the beginning of Rogue One.
Yeah.
We know that Cyril and Deidre have no impact on anything.
No. This is another reason why I'm like, why are we spending time with them?
I don't get it.
Why are we spending any time with them? They don't have impact on anything that happens. We know what happens after this. We never see them again. You do not need to include them in anything. Like, literally, you could drop Deirdre until part of the story involved her. Directly. We don't need to go to some conference that Deidre can get a new job that she doesn't want because she still wants to work on Access. Well, then do a better fucking job on Access, I guess. Like, this has nothing to do with anything. If this was like setting up Thrawn, or if this was doing something that connected it to Rebels, or anything, I'd be like, okay, it's something. This has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And it's infuriating because you're just watching your own time on this planet tick by while they waste it. They are just wasting your time at this point of just like, we don't fucking care what you think.
Yeah.
and we're going to do what we think is best. And if that means wasting a fucking enormous amount of time, like, it makes me so mad that they wasted so much of my time with this.
Remind me, in season 1, Cyril and Bix met, right?
Yes.
See, I could have fixed a lot. Instead of having the rapist lieutenant...
It's 2 12-episode seasons.
Cyril...
Yes.
Be the lieutenant, and when he sees her, he confronts her, and she beats him to death with a fucking wrench.
And then he can be dead too.
Yes, but it's not him abusing her sexually. No. It's him being a psychopath, which they set up in the first season.
Yeah.
And being psychotic and confronting her, and then Shim kicking his ass because he's a little
He's a
wuss.
twimp. He's a nothing.
That would have fixed so much. And it would have got rid of him. And it would have got rid of my problem.
It would have ingratiated us as an audience to the show.
Yes.
There's nothing like killing off a hated character in a show. When Joffrey fucking bit it.
Oh my God.
The applause could be heard.
Which, dude, they should have, and I got it at the start, and they didn't go through with it. The dude that the daughter marries in the wedding, he was giving off Joffrey vibes the first time you see him, and then they just...
Well, when his mom comes up to Mon and it was like, they had their first fight. I'm like, this fucking sucks. Do you know that this fucking sucks? And then she goes and comforts her daughter, and then her daughter is a full-on douchebag to her, because that's it. That's the entire relationship between Mon Mothma and other people. Mon Mothma has a concern, and someone acts like a douchebag towards them. Yeah. And it's just a revolving door of who the douchebag is.
And this is the part that the whole Mon Mothma thing, they're completely jumping the shark on. Because they're making her out, and I appreciate this, to be this very strong, important character. And she doesn't have the balls to tell her daughter to go fuck herself.
Yeah.
And you are my fucking daughter, and you're not going to talk to me that way. No.
This woman leads the rebellion.
She leads the rebellion, and she can't fucking keep her daughter from, like, any parent would say to their daughter, no, you don't fucking talk to me like that.
Well, like, they've been digging this pit for her, because in season 1, what do we see? But she is trying to make speeches in the Senate on not 1 but 2 occasions. And during that time, people are verbally checking out.
Yes.
Like, there is a large amount of noise drowning her out, and people are just leaving. They're just full on leaving. So it's not just in her personal life. The Senate doesn't care what Mon Mothma has to say. And so I'm just like, so when is she going to become a leader? When is that going to happen? Because that needs to happen at some point. Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm not seeing anything that makes me think that Bail Organa would take Mon Mothma seriously, beyond just the kindness of being Bail Organa.
Because it's the typical Disney writing right now, where they're making her out. They want her to be a strong character, but they're making her out to be a typical female character from old school movies, where you got to have the guys like Stellan Skarsgård to solve the problems, and she just is going to emote and worry.
She's just going to wring her hands like Chuck Schumer and write strongly worded letters.
Yes, strongly worded letters. And it's like, dude, you have this awesome... And I love the actress, and I love her performance.
She's great.
You have the chance for her to be this badass, and you're fucking it up.
When I was rewatching it and I got to the scene, I didn't get it the first time when I saw it the first time, but we get to the scene, Mon Mothma's whole thing in the first season is just concern over where money is going to be coming from.
Yes.
And the Empire looking into where money was going.
Yes.
And so the way that she covers hers up for a large deposit that was given to the rebellion was to basically accuse her husband in front of their spy of gambling debts.
Yes.
And it's a great scene.
Oh, it's a fantastic
And she
scene.
plays it straight the entire time, to the point where you're like, did I miss something? Is something going on? And then you realize, oh, this is her plan to get herself out of Hawk. Great scene. There's nothing like it in these 3 episodes.
No, not at all.
It is so frustrating to sit through and be forced to look at characters that we will never talk to again.
Yeah.
Who have no impact on the story moving forward. Who are so forgettable that if someone asks me who is Perrin in Star Wars in a year, I'll be like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
There's a million people in Star Wars. Well, he's the idiot that gave a 3-minute long fucking speech during his daughter's wedding. Why is any of this happening? Why are we spending any time on this? If it's an allegory for something, then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
If it's supposed to mean something or pushes the story forward, we can talk about the pros and cons of how you go about doing that. this version, what in the hell am I supposed to do with this?
I can't.
Because you didn't make any of the characters more interesting or better. You did not progress them in any capacity.
Yes.
All of Andor's progression as a character happened off screen during that year-long interlude. The other thing that I told Kelly, we can't even litigate whether they earned a year skip, because I have strong feelings about time jumps.
Yes.
You have to earn that. And if you haven't earned it, then I'm going to take points off.
Yeah.
Famously, Lost had a big time jump. And I was like, so we've spent every day with these people for 4 seasons, and every day something impactful has happened, and then you're going to skip 5 years.
Well, and this proves why they did it for Andor and why they continued to do it for the season and why they did it for Lost. They pretty much said in Lost they had no idea what they were writing.
Yeah.
They had no plan. That's what's going on here. Like, they know these first 3 episodes were dog shit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, let's just do a year later, and then anything we fucked up, we can just say, oh, that got resolved.
It almost is like, I want to know what the actual production of this was. Because this almost felt like, I'm looking at the credits. Credits for season 1 were all pretty standardized. They the same person was writing and directing. I want to make sure I get it correct.
It was Tony Gilroy.
Tony Gilroy was the primary showrunner.
Pretty much writing this whole season 2.
Yeah, and Toby Hayes was also a major directorial force on it as well. They were not involved to the same level in the beginning of season 3, from what I could tell in the credits. The credits had an entirely different group of people attributed to everything going on. And so I wonder what the process was for this. Is this yet another instance of Disney turning to someone in their stable and saying, you've been a good person, you earned a Star Wars, here, have a Star Wars, when they don't care about Star Wars, and they don't care about what's been going on in the show, and they don't have any aspirations for staying on with it, and they're not going to take it seriously. They're just going to do their own thing. Yes. And so then they start reading the script and they start having ideas, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, and we're going to explore the Chandelier Redding, and I'm going to explore what it means to be a rebel, and I'm going to explore how the Empire comes to their conclusions and how they make their plans and battle strategies. And all of it misses the point. Yeah. All of it is boring. It's all terribly written. Tony Gilroy was the writer for these episodes as well, so I don't know what the fuck happened in between seasons where his writing got so full of himself. But it has that feeling of a indie picture like a 500 Days of Summer. Yes. Of, I'm so smart and I'm so ahead of the class, and you're going to be so impressed when you see what I've made. Not impressed, not ahead of the class. This sucks.
It's The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
You know, he thought he knew better. He thought he could write anything he wanted.
That was another thing that I referenced while we were watching it, is this is Rian Johnson bad.
Yeah. Oh,
we're going to take your expectations and then throw them in the toilet. Yep. But first, we're going to take a massive shit, not flush, throw all your expectations in the toilet.
You're going to throw your lightsaber over her shoulder.
And you're just like, so do you not like me? Do you not want to hang out? Because this is how it feels when friends don't want to hang out with you and they just treat you like shit. Yeah. This is what it feels like. That's Star Wars now. I don't think Star Wars wants to hang out with anybody. No. I don't think Star Wars wants to hang out with its friends. I don't think Star Wars wants to hang out with passing acquaintances. I don't think Star Wars wants to be anymore. I don't know what it wants to be, but it definitely doesn't want to be friends, and it definitely doesn't want your input.
It's the people in control of Star Wars don't want it to be Star Wars anymore. Yeah. They want it to be something else, and it's not good. No. Like, once again, we had high hopes of all these awful series. To say that the best Star Wars series in the last year was a children's one is blowing my mind.
Which is I still haven't watched it. I still refuse to watch it.
Honestly, I want you to finish watching Andor. You're going to watch that and be like, this is the greatest thing Star Wars has ever done. Because even if you have problems, it's 1,000 times better than this shit.
I just, there's so many... we're not going to relitigate it, but I'm just... The direction that Disney has taken Star Wars in...
It's insane.
...is baffling. It's like they got... So, I remember when Disney bought Lucasfilm... And fans universally had a list of concerns that everybody pretty much agreed on. And it was things like, oh, so now we're going to have a Han Solo movie and an Obi-Wan movie and a Boba Fett movie. And the universe is going to get watered down and the Empire is going to rise again and Emperor Palpatine's not actually dead. And look at how many of those things have actually happened with Disney intently, purposefully aiming for them. With the exception of Palpatine coming back, which was damage control, which was the dumbest damage control you possibly could have done. This was all by design.
Yeah.
This was what they wanted to do. This was what they thought was going to be successful. And I'm just left being like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, Star Wars Rebels, the TV show, the animated TV show, should not be leagues better than the high value budget production. But it is. It's leagues better. And it understands what Star Wars is and what it means. But it also has the audacity to create new stuff and come up with new ideas on what the Force means. What does the Force mean to other people? What does the Force mean in nature versus the Jedi? Is the Jedi Order too strict? And they explore all these ideas in a competent way that does not say, fuck you, Star Wars fans. We don't care about what you believe in, and we definitely don't care that you like this. And in fact, we think you're dumb for loving it.
Yes.
And that's all Disney does is say, oh, you love this? Fuck you. You're a fucking nerd. Go fucking grow up.
And what makes me concerned is not only the rest of the show, which we will be reviewing the rest at some point. You think you should be excited when you hear that Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling are making a Star Wars movie. Especially after what Sean Levy was able to do with Deadpool and Wolverine in the MCU, as part of the MCU. You're like, okay, maybe. I'm not confident.
You could take George Lucas from 1977 out of a time capsule, like transported from 77 to 2025, you could bring him out and be like, but this is 26-year-old George Lucas. And I would be like, it's not gonna work. I don't know why. It's not gonna work. No matter what you do, that's a great idea. It's never gonna work.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do an Old Republic story? That sounds great. It's never gonna work.
Never gonna work.
Oh, you want to do Star Killer? That sounds interesting. It's never gonna work.
And real quick before we end the show, I got to put in there, did you see the interview with George Lucas about why Yoda speaks the way he does?
Oh, I did. I can't remember. It was something
that
Frank
fascinating.
Oz.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Where he said, when somebody is the philosopher, if they have an accent or speak differently, people have to pay attention to the words more and they listen more intently.
Yeah.
I was like, that's actually fucking genius.
It's the Saffold
Zizek
effect.
That was so genius.
The Saffold Zizek. If anybody doesn't know who Saffold Zizek is, first off, I can't tell you how to spell his name.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Z's and J's.
I couldn't even say what you just said.
But he has several documentaries that are I think it's the Pervert's Guide and the Pornographer's Guide to Filmmaking.
Okay.
And it's just him talking about film theory and philosophy, and like he goes to the alley from They Live.
Oh, nice.
Where they have the sunglasses fight.
Yeah.
And he talks about why it was shot this way, what it meant, what it means to have it in this just blank space, this blank open space that you can still go to today and stand in. And he's from Eastern Europe, and he has a wicked lisp. Mm-hmm. And he immediately, when you say that's Saffold Zizek, is you are just sitting there being like, this guy's really smart, has a lot to say, and God help me if I can understand any of it.
Exactly. So I need to focus on what he's saying. Yeah. But I thought that was fascinating. I was like, oh, that's so genius. That's absolute genius.
Yeah, no, Star Wars is capable of great things.
It is.
When done right.
It's been so long,
when bastardized and turned into something that it's not, it does not hold water, it turns out. And that's why when you have a Star Trek storyline and a Star Wars thing, it doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't fucking work.
It's not what that is.
Those pieces don't fit together.
Exactly.
And you show the myopic viewpoint you have by saying that these two things are the same because they both have star in the title.
Yeah.
No.
Couldn't be further.
Wildly different.
And that's why there is the fandom is so separate.
Yeah.
Because it's wildly different.
And, not for nothing, I do feel like Andor has gotten away from the fantasy element of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. And I think if you spent more time with farm boys and Jawas and, the smaller elements of it, you got to get those things right.
Yeah.
I love that this is a big story. I love finding out how the rebellion formed. That's one of the things that I loved about Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
This sucks, man. Yeah. This doesn't do that for me. This doesn't get there. It does take up a butt ton of time and even more money. And I'm so sick of having this argument of, how much did we spend on Star Wars? Wow, several $1 million per episode, like in the tens of millions of dollars per episode. Yeah. And they're shot in the volume, which is so fucking cool and allows you to do incredible things. But we're not going to utilize that at fucking all.
Yeah.
We're not going to have good direction. We're not going to have good writing. If you watch even the original MASH from the 70s, when characters are talking over each other all the time, you can still figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. But when we were on that planet where everybody was just talking over each other, God help you if you could parse anything that was happening besides bitch, 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 moan, 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 grumble, grumble, grumble. That was it. Yeah. And this is unacceptable.
And also you're giving all these speaking lines to a bunch of characters we don't give a fuck about.
We will never see again.
So why the fuck do we need to pay attention to
name them and everything. What, are you going to make an action figure set out of them? Yeah. Do you have a new Funko set of the fucking idiots on Porco's planet? This sucks.
Oh, it sucks.
Get better. Do better. You got 9 more episodes.
Oh my God.
Not all of season 1 was bangers. Do better. You got 9 episodes. Do fucking better. It's a 12-episode season. You got 9 episodes.
I don't have a lot of faith, but yeah, hopefully.
I don't know that they're going to make it, but God, I want them to, because I can't sit through any more of this. If we get back to this show next week and it's the same quality, I'm going to bring up Halo.
God, that's true.
It's going to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Find out, friends and enemies, if that's where we land next week.
That was episode 159 of NerdPod Generations. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this episode, please go back and listen to our Obi-Wan, because if you think this is a rant, you have no fucking idea what a rant is. But anyways, NerdPod Generation 159 is in the books, so please go and look us up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you like and subscribe. Same with our YouTube channel. If you have any questions on who we are or what we do, go to nerdpodgen.com. And Mr. Judson, who does our artwork and music?
Our art is by Kortney Howell. Our music is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly. I am Alfred Judson.
And I'm Steve Taylor.
I'm bummed, man.
I'm exhausted.
We're going to see what happens. Godspeed, friends and enemies.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're not covering Thunderbolts next week.
Fuck no.
No, Thunderbolts, when it drops on Disney+.
I can't take that.
We'll cover Brave New World before we cover Thunderbolts.
Hell yeah.
All right, see you later, friends and enemies.